Hello viewers, welcome to CEC lectures. Myself Dr. Priti Jagwani. I am from Department of Computer Science, Aryapat College, University of Delhi. So in this series of artificial intelligence, in the previous lectures we looked into knowledge representation techniques, and we talked about frames, scripts, conceptual dependencies, then transition networks and so on and so forth. Now today onwards we are going to cover one of the very important applications of artificial intelligence, which is called natural language processing, or NLP in short. So when we say NLP or natural language processing, we need to understand what actually it is. NLP is about developing the programs that understand natural language and that comprehend the visual scenes. These are the two, comprehension of visual scenes and understanding natural languages. These are the two most difficult tasks which AI researchers are working on. Now, developing programs that understand a natural language itself is, we can say, it's a difficult problem, and this falls under the category of natural language processing. So, when we say natural language processing, what are the kind of examples of this? So, you have seen so many voice assistants, like let us say for example, you have Alexa, or you have Siri, or even whenever you are texting with a chatbot, that also involves natural language processing. So, considering natural languages in the sense that in the language in which human beings talk about, they are large, they are huge, containing an infinity of different sentences, variety of sentences. Also, it is not very, what we can say is not very unambiguous, in the sense there is much of ambiguity in any natural language, in the sense that many words have several meanings which can be context dependent. So, for example, let us say fly or the term beer. So, beer can be a noun, it can be a verb. Orange, it can be a fruit, it can be a color. All these words and many other words have various different meanings according to their different context. So, everything become context dependent here. Now, this ambiguity makes the creation of programs that actually comprehend a natural language as one of the most challenging tasks in AI. So, it is not easy to understand a natural language, or we can say it is easy to understand a natural language when a human being is talking or comprehending, but for an AI systems it is actually a difficult task. So, creation of programs that actually understand natural language forms one of the most challenging tasks in AI. Now, how it is going to happen? So, it basically requires that a program which is there to understand natural language should transform the sentence occurring as a part of dialogue into various data structures, and these data structures should convey the intended meaning of the sentence to a reasoning program. In general, we can say that the reasoning program must know a lot about the structure of the language, the possible semantics, the beliefs and the goals of the user, and a great deal of general world knowledge also. So, when we are going to cover what kind of knowledges are required, what all kind of knowledge are required by a reasoning program, we will say, we will see that general knowledge or a general world knowledge is also required, apart from the possible semantics, the structure of language, and many other things. Now, actually, why do we need to do all these things, or what we can say, what is the importance, what is the need of natural language processing? So, when we say NLP, it is kind of an when someone wants to communicate with an AI agent or with an AI system, a natural form of communication with system should be there, which is essential for user acceptance. Otherwise, users today nowadays will not accept that AI system. Also, developing programs to understand natural language is important in AI, as I have already told you. Furthermore, most critical test for intelligent behavior is the ability to communicate effectively. Now, which intelligent behavior I am talking about? So, for example, please remember the Turing test. Now, what was the purpose of the test proposed by Alan Turing, which we have seen in our initial lectures? The idea was that AI programs must be able to communicate with their human counterparts in such an obvious or in a natural way that it cannot be what we can say, it cannot be caught that whether it is a human or it is an AI program who is communicating. Now, natural language for this is going to be one of the most important mediums. It will be used as one of the most important techniques for this purpose. So, all these kinds of tests which are there to identify, or which are there to test for the intelligent behaviors, and these intelligent behaviors are required to, in order to know that how smart the machine is, are we can say somehow based on this natural language processing. Now, a program understands a natural language if it behaves by talking in a predictably correct or acceptable manner or acceptable action in response to the input. So, for example, we are talking to let us say a chatbot or any AI agent, and that chatbot is behaving in a predictable manner, or it is giving we can say sensibly reasonable or correct answer, acceptable answer. So, the actions are acceptable with reference to the whatever input, whatever the query which we have given. So, then we can say ki, okay, this chatbot is going to understand our problem, or this is understanding our language. So, for example, in case of a child demonstrates understanding if it responds with the correct answer to a question. So, if I am going to ask a very simple question to a child and it is responding in an in an acceptable manner, so we say that okay, child is demonstrating an understanding, or child is actually understanding what is being asked. It is similar for the program also. So, program understands a natural language if it behaves in an acceptable manner, we can say. And the action taken here need not to be an external response. It may simply be the creation of some internal data structure, as would occur in learning some new facts. But in many cases, the structures created should be meaningful enough, and all these structures which are created should correctly interact with the world model representation held by the program. So, simply this means that these structure created should be meaningful and they interact with each other in a manner which is acceptable, or which is acceptable in the context, or which is acceptable by the model representation held by the program. So, when we say we need to develop these kind of programs which understand human language and then behaves responsibly or behaves in a predictable manner, we need to understand the nuances of natural language. So, all these nuances of natural language we also we have also learnt in our primary classes and all those kinds of things, but just let us quickly recap that what all important points of linguistics we are going to cover here. So, in any natural language we talk about sentence, it is going to be the basic language element. It is made up of words which in a way express a complete thought, and in order to express a complete thought we can say that your sentence generally should have a in most of the cases it should have a subject and a predicate also. Now, these sentences are actually classified by structure and by usage. In the sense, let us take the example of a simple sentence. A simple sentence has one independent clause comprised of a subject and a predicate. That means a simple sentence is having one subject and the corresponding predicate also. When we talk about the compound sentence, it consists of two or more independent clauses connected by a conjunction or by a semicolon. So, a set of two or more independent clauses is compound sentence. Then when we say apart from simple and compound, we also have complex sentences which consist of an independent clause and one or more dependent clauses also. So, independent clauses combined with dependent clauses will form a complex sentences. Now, this is actually we can say these are the structure of the sentences. So, simple sentence, compound sentence and the complex sentence. Now, when we talk about the mood, that means the sentences may be sometimes used to assert something, sometimes they can be used to query something, sometimes they used to describe a fact or something of that sort. The way a sentence is used determines its mood. Now, it could be declarative, it could be imperative, interrogative or exclamatory, and I am sure all these types you are kind of well aware of. So, with this background of the linguistics, let us move further. Let us talk about a word. Word in a sentence, it's a simple parts of a speech. Parts of a speech, if I say about nouns, pronouns, verbs, adjectives, adverbs, preposition, conjunction and interjunction. So, a word can be anything of these, and I am sure you understand what all these parts of a speech, why they are used and why they are used and where they are used. Now, when we talk about, so with this kind of simple quick kind of recap of the linguistics, let us come back to the natural language processing. When we say a language understanding program is there, it must have considerable knowledge about the structure of language, including what all the words are and how they combined into phrases and sentences. Now, these phrases and sentences we are going to use in our grammar, which I will be covering in the upcoming lecture. Now, apart from this, a language understanding program, first thing, it should have considerable knowledge about the structure of language in which it is kind of built. Also, with this structure of knowledge, it includes what the words are and how they combine into phrases and sentences. Apart from this, it must also know the meaning of the word and how they are contributing to meaning of the sentences. So, what is the meaning of the individual word, and by combining these individual words in a meaningful manner, how a complete meaning of sentence is going to be derived, and to the context within which they are being used. So, a very important thing here is context. So, let me give you an example. So, I am standing near a dash. Now, in this dash, if I am going to fill in, let us say, bank. Now, that could be a river bank, or that could be a bank which is kind of an kind of financial institution. Now, that depends on which particular bank I am going to use. Am I talking about the river bank, or am I talking about the bank as a financial institute? That depends on the context, that depends on whatever sentence are being actually written before this, what in which context I am going to use the bank. So, because of these words which can have different meaning depending upon the context here becomes really very important. Finally, apart from this, a program must have some general world knowledge as well as knowledge of what humans know and how they reason. And for this thing, that how human beings reason, we have seen the previous topic of resolution, in which we talked about the automated reasoning which actually happens through which actually happens in humans by nature, by virtue of their nature, or automatically we can say, and we need to develop this kind of intelligence into an AI agent, so that it should reason the way reason out in the way a human is doing. Now, this language understanding program must have considerable knowledge about the structure of the language, then the meaning of the word. So, syntax, semantics both should be there. Also how the words are contributing to the meaning of the sentence, and finally a program must have some general word knowledge. As I have already told you that context here is going to be very important. The component forms of knowledge needed for an understanding of natural language are sometimes classified according to various levels. Now, what are these levels? These levels are phonological, then morphological level we have, syntactic level we have, pragmatic level we have, and we also have the word level. Now, let us describe them one by one. So, when we say for knowledge understanding of for understanding of a natural language, we need what all kinds of knowledge levels. So, first is phonological. Phonological, it is the knowledge which relates sounds to the words we recognize. A phoneme is a smallest word of the sound, and they are aggregated into word sound. So, phonological is basically, we can say, the smallest level of the sounds we recognize. That is about the phonological knowledge. Moving forward, we have morphological knowledge. Morphology is related to the lexicals. This is lexical knowledge which relates to the word constructions from basic units called morphemes. So, the lexical knowledge is morphological knowledge, and morpheme is the smallest unit of meaning. As we say, the smallest unit of sound is your phoneme, morpheme is the smallest unit of the meaning. So, for example, we have, let us say, take the example of word friendly. So, friendly is basically the word which is obtained by combining one root word which is friend, and then there is a suffix ly, and when this root word and the suffix are being combined, we have the term, we have the word friendly. So, the morpheme has become the smallest unit of the meaning. The third level of knowledge is the syntactic knowledge. Syntactic knowledge says it relates to how words are put together or structured to form grammatically correct sentences in the language, and this is actually this is somewhat what we are talking about is syntax. So, syntactical knowledge relates, obviously syntax is about how are you going to write a sentence in which it forms a grammatically correct structure. That is what your syntax is all about. Apart from syntax, we also have semantics. So, semantics again the knowledge which is concerned with the meaning of the words and phrases, and just not the meaning, also how they are combined to form sentence meaning also. So, syntactic and semantic, this kind of knowledge is also required apart from morphological and phonological. Moving one step forward, we have pragmatic knowledge. Pragmatic is the high level knowledge which relates to the use of sentences in different context and how the context affects the meaning of the sentences. And for this we have also, I have also given an example that I am standing near the, let us say, bank. Now, bank, is it a river bank or it is a financial institution? That actually depends on the context. So, the context is going to definitely affect the meaning of the sentence. Apart from this morphological, phonological, syntactic, semantic and pragmatic, your program should also kind of have some world knowledge. So, world knowledge relates to a language, relates to the language a user must have in order to understand and carry on a conversation, and it must include an understanding of others person's belief and goals. So, all these kinds of knowledge is required, whether it is pragmatic or the word knowledge, syntactic, semantic, morphological, and the first one was phonological. All these kinds of knowledges are required when I am talking about the natural language processing, or when I am talking about a program which is going to understand the conversation, or which is going to understand the talk of a human being and should respond in a predictable manner. Now, these approaches, the approaches taken in developing language understanding programs generally follow the various stages. Now, what all stages are there? So, when a string of word has been detected, the sentence are parsed or analyzed to determine their structure, which is nothing but the syntax and the grammatical correctness. So, first of all, when a sentence is being detected, or a sentence is being what we can say given as an input. So, sentence is always in the form of a string of words. So, this sentence is parsed, or in a way we can say analyzed. If you are not aware with the meaning of the parsed in the technical sense, we can say the sentence is analyzed to determine now what should be the goal of this analysis. We need to determine the structure and the grammatical correctness of the sentence. Then there comes, apart from the syntax, there comes the semantics also. Semantics, as you all aware, is related to the meanings. The meaning of the sentences are then determined afterwards if it is in the correct syntax, and appropriate representation structures are created for inferencing the programs. And this whole process is actually a series of transformation from the basic speech sound to a complete set of internal representation structure, which till this point we were talking about as some data structures in the natural language processing. So, syntax and then determination of semantics, this is actually this involves a series of transformation from basic speech sounds to a complete set of internal representation structures. Now, understanding written language. So, here in case of natural language processing, the problem which we are talking about, it understanding the language. Now, this language can be in the form of written language, or it can be in the form of speech. Now, let us focus on the easier part, which is understanding written language. Understanding written language or understanding written text is always easier than understanding speech. Now, why? In order to understand speech, a program must have all the capabilities of a text understanding program, plus the facilities needed to map spoken sounds into textual form. So, what is the difficulty in mapping spoken sounds into textual form? The difficulty is the accent of the speaking one, or noise. Your spoken sounds may often be corrupted by noise. Also, you can have accent differences, and here the focus is on the natural language understanding from the textual input and information processing also. So, basically when we compare understanding written language or understanding written text with comparison to understanding speech, it is always an easier idea to understand the written language or the text. Now, we are focusing our problem on, or we are focusing our context, we are focusing our attention on understanding the written language or understanding the text. We are presently not going into the speech, because speech, as I have already told you, will incur different kind of nuances. Now, general approaches to natural language understanding, here I mean by text. There can be three different approaches taken in the development of natural language understanding programs. So, the three different approaches are the use of keyword and pattern matching. The second one is combined syntactical, which is the structural and semantic directed analysis, and the third one is comparing and matching the input to the real world situations, which is kind of we can say scenario representation. Now we have three different approaches: use of keyword and pattern matching, combined syntactic, structural and semantic directed analysis, and third one is comparing and matching the input to real world scenarios. Now we will be looking into the brief description of all the three different approaches, and the second one, which is the combined syntactic, structural and semantic directed analysis, that is something which we are going to cover in detail. Why we are covering this particular in detail, that I will tell you in the upcoming lecture, in which we will explore all these three general approaches to natural language understanding. So here in this lecture we try to look into or try to make a basic platform about the natural language understanding. We looked into what all kinds of knowledge should be there in order to create these kind of natural language understanding programs, and what are the general approaches of these natural language understanding. So with the names of these three approaches, I am just finishing this lecture here. More about the details of these three approaches will be taken in the next lecture. Here is a list of references which is being used for the preparation of this talk. I hope you have enjoyed this one. I will see you in the next. Till then, take care. Goodbye.